What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the live match reaction show. I am your host, T. I'm joined by my man, Patrick. A 1-1 tie in the rivalry match between Crystal Palace and Brighton. For those of you who watched and that are here with us, appreciate it, man. Rough game, but, point taken from each side. Patrick, just give me your initial thoughts on what you saw out there, man.
I'm happy with the point, obviously, because we need the points, but the performance was poor by us. I just thought they're a much better team than we are. You have to face the facts. They're a better team, better squad. I know the manager had issues today with the injuries. Zaha, Anderson. Let me see one other person who was out
Lost
today.
Richards. I mean, and I don't know
Richards
if
too, obviously,
it
right?
must have been
So
like right before, I guess. But
yeah, heard apparently has a back injury, but I got to give him credit, man, because tactically, although I didn't like the setup when I first watched it, he used Mateta and Ayew very uniquely today. He used them to press both Gross and Caicedo, and they neutralized both of them, which was great. So they had to go wide, which unfortunately, that means they were focusing on Estupiñán on one side and then Solly March on the other side, which hurt us. But you had to do something today because we couldn't hold the ball, we couldn't pass the ball, we couldn't do anything. So to get a point today was magnificent because we were really poor today, really poor.
Yeah, I agree. It was a poor performance, but it just goes to show you how this game can go sometimes, man. I mean, you outplayed but not outscored was the way I put it.
You're right, absolutely.
And I mean, the one thing that I see other teams do with us that I was actually really happy that we did today was they take advantage of our mistakes.
Yes.
And a huge mistake that they made, we were able to take advantage of, and that's how you sometimes can salvage your point in this situation. So
you're right. I agree.
I thought one of the things that really stood out to me that we struggled to do was pass the ball. Like I feel like we couldn't string together 3 passes, man. Like I don't know what it was. It was just, and then a lot of times, especially in the final third, which kind of has been a calling card for us so far this year, is it's that one pass that we're missing. Right. That one pass that we're missing that will actually lead to a great chance. Like at the end of the match, when Hamada made that beautiful play to get in between the two guys, laid it off to Edouard, and Edouard tried to play it back to him, and the pass was just not enough.
There.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'll take the point, no doubt, especially against Brighton, but it's just one of those things. I mean, yeah, I guess you just take it and move on, man.
Nah, you have to just take the point. I mean, listen, man, as much as people may not want to hear it, they're a very good side, man. They have a very good squad. They play very smart football. De Zerbi is an excellent manager. I thought Potter was good. But I was watching the video before the match. Typho does really good breakdowns of how Brighton play. They do tactical breakdowns, and they were talking about how they play out of the back. And if you notice today, I mean, I'm sure Webster and Dunk must have had 100 plus touches today because they were playing the ball back. But then they wait for Caicedo to drop in. But again, because Caicedo and Gross couldn't drop into that empty pocket in the space, they were forced to go out wide, which is smart by us. I mean, credit to Klein too, man. He had both Estupiñán and Mitoma to deal with today, and that's a lot.
I think he did really well. I honestly think he did really well. I mean, there was only that 1-2 play early on where Mitoma got the shot on goal, which was I think more of a product. Which was more of a product of Klein trying to deny the initial pass where he got 1-2, which he actually did a pretty good job of getting up there, but in trying to slide in and defend, he ended up getting 1-2 pretty easily. But outside of that one play, I feel like he was really solid on that side of the pitch.
And we also negated the strikers. I mean, they had was it Undav didn't do anything. Something out. Ferguson, who's 18 years old, playing great, came on, barely did anything. But they were very smart, man. They capitalized on our weaknesses, which is our wide defending is not great. As you mentioned, I saw your tweet by you. Mitchell falls deep in the back post every time. It's way too often for my liking.
It seems like every single time that there is a cross to the back post of his side, he's never defending the way he needs to be.
Right. It's happened way too many times.
And like if there is one glaring weakness in his game, it is back post defense.
Right.
And you see it time and time again with him. I think he's a great on-ball defender. I think he does a really good job of defending on the ball. But I think that the big issue there is, I don't know, like I guess you say off the ball, like his awareness of what's going on around him. I think he really struggles there. Really struggles there. Looks like we got about 74 people watching live. We want to say thank you to all of you for tuning in. Film Review says, I don't think Vieira is the one, but in his defense, teams are still 12 after all this shocking displays. Can't press the panic button yet. Not really backed, etc.
So I'm gonna address that. See, I don't know how you don't. You could say he's not the one when he hasn't got a squad to work with. Like even today, like I said, he had to play Tompkins. He had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to throw Hamada and Lokonga into that midfield, so he has to play Ayew as the 10. Has to play Olise wide. I could argue you probably could have started Edouard, but let me tell you something. Listen, what did Edouard do today? What did he do? I mean, he doesn't do enough. I mean, I admit that Mateta doesn't do much. Mateta had 2 good shots today, well blocked by Webster. Could have had a goal either chance. But what does Edouard do? He's probably the better of 2 poor strikers. So I'm not sure what more Vieira can do with this squad. I want him to have a squad of players, and then I can decide. Last year, he had a bit of a better squad. Did a great job getting Gallagher to play what he did. The team to press, the point total, the semi-final. But to judge Vieira on the last 2 years, it's not fair because he doesn't have enough players. He's forced to play Ayew. He's forced to play Schlupp. He's forced to play Mateta. He's forced to play Tompkins, who actually, by the way, played very well today. Yeah. So I don't know what people want out of him. He's forced to play Klein at right back. I mean, what do you want from him? He's got to give him a squad. Our owners have dropped the ball, not Vieira. It's not on Vieira. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna let anybody say today it's Vieira this, Vieira that. It's on the ownership that has not given him a squad of players to work with. And to his credit, with this squad, we are still 12. I don't know how, T. We have 25
1 point better than we were same time last year. Actually,
exactly. I don't know. To me, it's the squad. It's not the manager. I mean, to me,
and that's a legitimate point because even in what this is what year 2 for him,
right?
He's still having to depend on a lot of players from the old regime.
100%.
And I think when you're thinking about modern day football, a lot of times when guys take over teams and in this situation,
right?
Usually by this time they're not having to depend as heavily,
right?
I would say on guys from other regimes. But
so
I mean,
real quick. I mean, a great example is Nottingham Forest. He came in last year, got him promoted, right? And then he cleared out the entire squad for this year. Now, they're not doing great, obviously, but my point is he came in, was backed by the owners, the manager at Forest, and he did the entire squad. Now you can judge that manager on because now
that's crazy. I mean, 22 moves in the summer. Not only that, and then how many moves they made in the winter window.
In this last window, exactly. So to me, you can't really judge Vieira until you give him players to play with. He doesn't have a squad. Ty Jenks, so squad is this thin bare, and we have injuries to some of our best players. You come in here for you can't blame him. I agree, Ty. You cannot blame him for that.
I mean, he just went into. I mean, Vieira just went into a match where you didn't have Wilfred Zaha. You didn't have Wilfred Zaha.
Right.
You didn't have Anderson. You didn't have his quality backup in Richards.
Right.
So you're forced to play. Some players that you might not want to, or guys in different places that you didn't want to have to play them.
Right.
You're playing in the rivalry match, which is one of the most important matches to the club each and every season, so it was never an easy scenario to begin with. You know what I mean? So,
right.
I mean, to pull a point from that, I mean, think about it. In the last 3 or 4 matches, we've gotten results out of 3 top 6 teams, I think.
Yes, United, Brighton today, and the other point was Newcastle. Absolutely, exactly.
So
exactly.
So what are we talking about?
Right.
I mean, because the fact that the fact very well could be that we took 0 points from 3 matches with top 6 opponents. I mean, that very well could have been the conversation that we're having right now, but that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I can appreciate the fact that it's big but don't break right now. And when you're in these situations, I feel like that's kind of par for the course.
And for me, T, the only way it gets better is if players like Olise step up, more than they have been, as they step up more than they have been at Edward, because they're quality players
I believe.
in
I agree.
isolation, but in part of this team, they're not stepping up. I mean, each one of them have a good game every once in a while, but together they haven't. Now, we've relied on Zaha so much for the last how many years, especially the last 2 seasons, to score goals. But it has to come on players like Eddie got to score more goals. Olise got to score more goals. And anyone has to score more goals, because when they don't perform and we rely on the same old, which is Zaha, it doesn't work. Now, again, obviously he's injured. So for me, this squad is so lacking that to get anything out of this team is a miracle. It's a miracle for me to get anything out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big piece that you discuss is consistency.
Right.
Consistency. You know what I mean? And I mean, I want consistent performances from Edward. You want consistent performances from Eze. And unfortunately, a little bit to this point, like they haven't really had those games, haven't had sometimes the opportunities to have the string of games to be as consistent as you would want them to be. But I mean, there's just things that we're lacking. I think personally, as a team, I think we need to decide identity pieces. Are we going to press teams, or are we not going to press teams?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because there were times when you watch, I feel like Olise didn't know what he should do.
I agree on that.
Should I sit back? Should I go and press? Because there was a time I think we had a counter press opportunity, and he didn't understand. He didn't know. He didn't know that he should go and push up on the left back in that situation to try and give us a chance to get the ball back.
But I'll be honest with you, you can't press Brighton. You can't. I mean, I don't know if you saw the stat at halftime. Halftime we had 99 passes. They had 334. They had triple amount of passes. So if you try and press, they're just gonna pass around you. Looking at the end of game stats, they had 75% possession. We had 25%. They had 624 passes at 90% accuracy. We had 162 at 71%. To say we couldn't pass is an understatement. So to try and press a team when you can't pass, even if you win the ball back, you made a great point earlier. We won the ball back high at the pitch one time, and then we didn't make that final pass. So to press around, to try and press them, we're gonna get knock the ball around. It gets wide to Stupian, wide to March. As many balls come in, at some point they're going to score a goal, right? Because they did it earlier. Lucky they had the offside. So for me, the strategy was to use Ayew and Mateta to kind of press Dunk and Webster, and then Gross and Casado kind of stay for them, and then force them. Okay, find McAllister now. Find a Stupian. Find March. Sign somebody else. But you're not going to find a guy in the middle. We're going to force you wide. And if you're going to put a ball into Undav, hopefully we'll clear. We got Tompkins in the middle. They had the ball. We got Gehi, or get the ball to Ferguson. But to me, the strategy worked, because I'll say it again. They are a very say what you want. You can say they're an excellent side with an excellent coach, and they're much better than us.
They're second, the second, and so like I said, I give all credit to them for being this good with a new coach, man.
Like a new coach, right? Like they didn't miss a beat. In fact, they got better, which is
this dude didn't have a summer training camp or anything like that. He came in mid-season, and he's been able to just make it work. You know what I mean? So like
very rare for a coach to come in with someone else's players, have them top 10 and keep them, and then actually push them up the table. It just doesn't happen. Look at Potter now at Chelsea, how he's struggling with a multi-million-dollar squad, and all he's getting is draws.
and getting draws around the fact that even with the additions of the new guys, like it's still the product looks very much the same as it has in the past. When you've added guys like Madueke and Mudryk and Badia Shael, you know what I'm saying? Like it's still very much the same as what it was before. But even then, like winning games in the Premier League is not easy.
It's extremely difficult. It's. I mean, Arsenal now. You see what they're happening to them. They're struggling to win games. Southampton was up a goal and a man today and lost 2-1 at home to Wolves. I mean, it's just not easy to win games. I mean, Tottenham got destroyed today by Leicester City. You know what I mean? It's not easy to win games. It's not easy to win games. It just isn't. So I mean. You're absolutely right. It's a difficult league, man. It's the hardest league to me in the world to stay in and to push up into. And the fact we might hopefully be 11th season next year is a blessing to me. But we have to make this squad better, because it's not good enough. It's not, and so eventually we're going to get caught out there. It's just a matter of time, because it's not good enough. You're right. I mean, your point being about having to play players like Schlupp and Ayew, who were part of a Hodgson squad. we've got to move on from those players. And I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying we have to move on from them. We have to get better. I mean,
and we have to get the quality of player, the type of player that your manager is looking to have in his squad to be able to implement his true tactical outlook for the team. So
100%.
We're gonna bring on our first guest, my man Rich. Rich, what's up, man?
Evening. Hope you well.
Doing Rich, how are you, man?
Right? Doing good.
I'm good. I'll take the point, man. Terrible performance, but I'll take the point. Honestly, we got to keep these points ticking over with this running because it's crazy. It's crazy. Obviously the lineup came out, and I'm just like, my goodness me. Obviously not knowing that Richards was injured and stuff, and then I was just. But fair play, Tompkins had a blinder.
Played well.
Played well.
He played very well and such. So I think the biggest. Just before I say my concerns, Patrick, you're right. You can't press Brighton. They actually are set up to want you to press so that
so they can get around you.
They set traps.
Yeah, exactly.
And stuff. Like we were doing a watch along, and we're better off sitting off deep and trying to hit them on the counter and such.
And I think that's where it worked out for us, because it was like what Patrick was saying. We didn't technically press them. We just tried to take away in the space that the two pivot central midfielders had. So
yeah, I think the biggest issue for us was that when we didn't get the ball, you can't be relying on Mateta.
Yeah,
and Schlupp, and so it just so bad. Yeah, and Ayu going forward defensively, Ayu he was the one that was winning the ball quite a lot.
Oh, he worked. He's worked his socks off.
He worked his socks off, but when you're looking for that bit of quality in the final third, he's not going to give you that. You know what I mean, and such. But I guess the one thing I did notice, I know we said we weren't going to press, but I just thought there's a lack of desire. I don't know. Has the Sean Derry incident affected some of these players? Because
it was there before. It was there before, though. I've known that lack of desire for a while, though. I wish I could put it on that one thing. But honestly, it was some games he played since the World Cup, and I'm like, we're not even working hard enough. The Fulham game is a good example. The Tottenham game, second half, after we gave up the goal, we just gave up. So, I mean,
I think that for me is the biggest concern, more than anything, because we've got the ability out there, but you have to earn the right to play.
Yes, great phrase. Exactly.
Absolutely. And if we're not working hard from the basic stuff, then this is the problem.
I think one of the things you got to realize about a center forward like Mateta, and I actually heard the announcer say this. It's a difference between being a big central forward and a big central forward who's good in the air. Just because you're big doesn't mean you're good in the air.
Yeah. It was
good on his feet either.
It was Effen Okoku, and Effen Okoku is a former striker. He knows, and that's not Mateta's strength. I mean, we're trying to play balls in the air and win a few, but that's not his strength. He's not Benteke. That's why Benteke. People talk about Benteke for all his faults. We missed that because
that was the thing. He was in the air.
He hold the ball up. He'll bring players into play, and that's what we needed. He made us score a ton of goals, but we didn't need him except for that first season. Score a ton of goals, and we missed that. I mean, without a doubt. But Mateta, 44 today, could have scored 2 goals. I mean, Webster made 2 fantastic blocks on Mateta today.
I'm going to challenge you slightly about the blocks, though.
Go ahead.
Mateta just loses his footing all the time, so he hasn't really got a clean connection on the shots.
I mean, but the way those blocks were, they were point blank. How could you even know where the ball was going, if he had a chance? Yeah. Like Webster was right there,
right on him both times. Yeah.
I wish I could say that he was being uncomposed and just striking it, but he didn't really have a chance to get the ball. He couldn't place it. I don't think he could place it any different.
No, he just had to hit the strike as early as he could and hope.
I just like the fact that Mateta even strikes the ball like that.
That's a good point, yeah. Because Edward wouldn't shoot there.
Yeah, because
you got to give him credit for that. Exactly.
Yeah, because it might be. Is it a fact of Mateta not having enough composure versus a guy like Edward who maybe has too much composure and doesn't even take the shot
and doesn't get the shot off. Interesting point. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So
interesting, but you know what? I know a lot of people that are like, Vieira, he doesn't know what he did and stuff. I've still got to give him the 3rd season.
Have to,
I've still
because the 3rd season is when he'll really have a better, a better outlook of what he wants to be on the field. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I don't think it's fair for him to be even considered for the sack at this point when we're really not in worry for relegation at this point. It's not like we have a 4-game losing streak, 4 or 5-game losing streak, anything like that going on.
Yeah.
And he's still having to depend on players from the old regime for the simple fact that we have been able to replace them yet. That's not his fault.
He was definitely handicapped in the summer. Even the January window. I mean, if the summer window was done properly, then we could have patched up maybe the fullbacks and the forward situation.
Yeah.
We've got too much to do, you know. And then next summer doesn't help because I think there's like 6 or 7 out of contract. So it's going to be another
next summer is going to be almost like the first summer that he came
in. It's the biggest
like,
time in Palace's recent history.
And I don't know if maybe to get the front office maybe a little bit of credit. Maybe they're loading up for that. They know what the summer is going to be like, and they got to be ready to have another big summer with a lot of signings, similar to the way we did when Vieira first came in. If that's the case, and if they do it that way, I'm cool with it, because then we're going to see more new guys in the right places. Because after today, man, like I'm fully on the train of we need another left back to compete against Tyreek. I'm sorry, man.
And you know what? Fair play to Klein, because I thought Mateta was going to destroy him, and he held his own.
Oh yeah,
he was very good against Mateta. It was very. I mean, he couldn't do a better job against him. Mateta's had that one good shot first half that Brighton made a very good save on, and was quiet most of the rest of the match. And the truth is, when he wasn't involved, they had to use Estupiñán overlapping behind him, and he torched us. Estupiñán.
What a fullback he is!
What a player! What a player! I mean, he's not a great defender. I don't care. I pray for players like that on my team that can, in this modern era of football, where you can get forward like that, put crossing like that, and quote unquote score goals. He did score. I mean, it was an offside, but he scored a goal too. So, nah, man, he's a brilliant player. So, I mean, I don't know. So, Rich, what are your thoughts kind of going forward? We all know we've got another tough stretch of games coming up. What do you think's gonna? Especially now still got the injuries, obviously. Maybe McCarthy's back on the bench today. I forgot to mention that. That was a good thing. Ferguson's training. Zaha's getting closer, coming back, and then Anderson will be back next week. So, what are your thoughts going forward?
So it's Brentford, Liverpool, and then Villa.
Then
if I'm correct.
Villa, it is correct.
That doesn't sound as bad as, like, obviously the Man United and so on and so forth. But we just got to try and get as many points as possible. If we can get 5 points out of 3, I'll be very happy.
Take that. Beats up to 30. Yeah, we definitely take that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Agree with that.
For sure. All right, Rich, we appreciate you, man. Always appreciate you connecting with us, man. You have a good night, all right?
Thanks for coming on. Take care, Rich. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Right. Take care, Rich.
D, what's up, man?
They still couldn't beat us.
You know, I mean, it's you know, I see now we got a whole nother thing to go with, to run with now, because apparently Sanchez let it bounce. So now we got all this stuff going. It's like, oh my god, man.
No, I'll give my thoughts in a bit, because there's a few people that's been waiting a bit behind the scenes.
So we can bring on the Palace Plummer.
Yeah, let's bring on Palace Plummer. What's going on, Palace Plummer?
How you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good, man.
Got T, Michael, D, yeah. Be honest with you, I had a big list of what I was going to say, but you've said most of the things. The main point I was going to make today is basically, I don't think we know our first starting lineup. I really don't think we do. I really think when have we had a consistent lineup of 3 or 4 games in a row with the same team? He's mixing it up, and it's just, we just seem, I don't know, man. We just seem, I mean, you look at players like Olise, how good he is, but is tracking back, and he's closing down players. It's non-existent. I mean, you've got Ayu's obviously in the team because obviously his work rate, and obviously again, like we always said before, on the pivot, we're getting into midfield. We've got no one turning and playing. If you look at nearly every other team, they're switching it. They're doing the triangles.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting it to the wide areas, pulling it back, and then scoring goals. When do we ever see us do that? Never. It just seems we just seem. I mean, I don't know if it's Vieira's fault. I mean, when he first come that first season, I just see the transaction from the Roy time, how boring that was. 10 players behind the ball, the counter attack. nicking games 1-0, and now and that first season when Vieira was there, we looked like a totally different team. We was playing from the back. We had possession. I mean, I know possession doesn't win you games, but we just looked. But this season, we just seem disjointed. I think we don't know our best lineup, and we don't know. I don't know, man. But it just.
So
Do you think?
I have a question to ask, because you mentioned about our lineup, but like today, it's kind of unfair to mention lineups when you're missing Zaha, Anderson, Richards, Macca's on the bench.
Yeah.
Macca's on the bench, obviously not fit. You got 2 new signings we integrate in the team. So when you talk about lineups, you're talking about recently, you're talking about during the entire season now.
Talking about the entire season. I'm talking about there's never seemed to be an A, a B, a C. I mean, I'm similar to you, Patrick. I mean, I've been 41 now. I've been there to the Hopkins last minute. Steve Claridge when he scored off his chin.
Yeah, Shinner. Yeah.
3-0, 1-0 on the replay. Man United have been a Palace supporter for a long time, so I've seen it. So I know what it's about, the roller coaster, and how things have gone good this last team, and now we are what we are. Do you know what I mean? I know in an ideal world, I would love to see us be in Europe and be fighting, but
absolutely,
we are what we are, and sometimes people have got to realise that. Do you know what I mean? But
100%.
I mean, throughout the whole team, throughout the whole season, I think it is. I think there's never. He doesn't know his. I don't think he knows his best 11. I really think he doesn't.
I think it's a very interesting point that you're making. But what I think the difference is, and you guys can let me know as well, is that last season we had the players to play a certain style of football. And this season, we're just trying to we're trying to adapt game by game to the opponent. And I think it's a simple case of we didn't have good enough investment. We had some solid players this season. Don't get me wrong. Richards, for his strength, we saw Decore as well. But last season was out there with the likes of Gallagher. We even had Piatti. We had Maka. So the midfield went weaker. You can argue that our attack got weaker as well, because I don't know about you guys, but I would have, in a game like this, I would have preferred Benteke over Mateta, because Mateta product play is much better than Mateta's. So I feel like we've regressed as a squad, and that's why this season is changing it up, because we just don't have a good 11. We have some good players, but we don't have a solid 11. Whereas you can make the debate, Nathaniel Klein versus Joe Ward, that debate is there. But then it's not a debate of, Nathaniel Klein is much better than Joe Ward. It's a case of who's going to be worse this week. Do you get it? Like, normally it's a case of looking at what players are good enough to perform in the next level. I don't know. I just don't think we've had good enough squad.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think Mac has been a big miss. He was his work rate. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, we haven't got. I mean, we've got Decore. Like I said, he's been one of our best players, but he's more. How can I say? I wouldn't say it's more of his interceptions, his challenges, his awareness. Do you know what I mean? He knows how to. Yeah. He's there, but Maka was all over the place. You know what I mean? He'd give you 110% every game, and I think he was definitely a big miss. You know what I mean? But it's again, it's like you said, that pivot, turning, finding them spaces, setting traps. You know what I mean? So if it were going that way, and then suddenly we split them that way. We just don't seem to have it. And again, it's the same. It's not so much the defence. I mean, we know our defence. You know, it's obviously Guy Anderson, and when one of them are injured, it's going to be Richards, and then obviously Mitchell, and Klein. But in terms of the midfield, and then definitely the forward. I mean, playing Zara up front. I mean, that baffles me. That does. He's a left winger, cuts inside, and he scores goals. Simple as that. That's the player he is. He's not a striker. And I don't know who knows who his best striker is and what to play up front. Does he play one up front? Does he play Eze behind as a number 10? Does he? When he was at QPR, that was his best position. That's where he played. He played as a number 10. He wasn't a left-sided midfielder. I know you obviously got to adapt in the Premiership. It's a different kettle of fish, but.
And I think you summed up that perfectly, though. Look, why has Will played up front a few times this season? Because our strikers, I don't think they've been good enough.
They've not been good enough. No, yeah. You could argue that. Yeah, he's scoring goals. Yeah.
Even the likes of Ebbs. Like Ebbs recently, his form hasn't been that great. That's why he hasn't been playing. I know some people wanted him to play in a Brighton game, but he just has to adapt to the situations. And right now, we just haven't got quality enough players. I know some people are talking about we've got 5 midfielders on the bench. Lokonga literally just joined. Hamada literally just joined. Mac has come back from injury. Gyro doesn't even really count as a midfielder, and so doesn't Luca because he doesn't really look.
That's enough what back to me. Gyro, I think Gyro's a wicked player. I mean, he keeps the ball. He's got that Ajax way. He can keep when we need to keep possession. Sometimes he comes. I don't know. Vieira must not like Gyro for some reason. I don't know because he hasn't had a look in. I think was the end of his contract this season, so he'll probably be gone next season.
Yeah, but a lot of players have to go. A lot of these players, I feel like, have to go because we have players for the sake of having players, and that's the one thing I hate the most because it's pointless. I mean, Luca is carrying coming off
There's a lot of players with carrying, but
you're right. Yeah, Gyro, he doesn't expect anything from Gyro Vieira clearly. There's been players that are just there for the sake of it, and we need to strengthen. Look, today, I mean, Jeffrey Schlupp starting on the left hand side. In a typical, of course, when Wilf is back, that wouldn't happen. But we should have a left winger. We shouldn't have to play Jeffrey Schlupp on the left hand side. You get me? Or we shouldn't have to play Mateta up front because Edouard ain't performing great. Because Mateta ain't a great alternative. So I don't think we've got enough quality in this squad. And I think that's where our problem lies. And that's why we haven't had a consistent 11 because he's just trying to judge it based on form, maybe in training, maybe based on the last game, and he just. We still have to strengthen, and that's why everyone says it. I think we have a massive summer coming up, and we need to back Vieira because this season, we've got some decent players, but we haven't got enough. We need to strengthen. I mean, we need to strengthen in
but also, and I've got to be honest. I think with the stadium, I've got to agree with what Patrick says. It's all right in an ideal world. I'd love us to strengthen, going out and pay 60, 70 million, but I've got a funny feeling it's just going to be a concentrate on that stadium, but then for me that's a big risk because if we don't concentrate on the team, then we get this stand, and we can't see 35,000 turning up to championship games. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's why it's important.
I'm a fervent believer that you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money to strengthen your squad. I mean, there are good quality buys you can make. You just have to do the scouting in order to do it.
That's right. Yeah, but
I mean, Lee's got that Yanto kid for 3.5 million, bro.
Yeah.
What?
We don't even have to look at Nonto. We can look at our squad. We got Olise for 8 million.
That was based on good scouting. So there are quality moves you can make, and like it's not. You don't have to add superstar players. Like you're just looking to get guys that are better than what you have, and that fit what you're trying to do.
They have to fit. Is the key.
That's it.
Well, it's not easy.
No, it's not. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying the premise of it is very doable. We just need to have the scouting in order to execute that.
I feel like we've had the scouting though. We've had the scouting. The problem is this year, I don't think we spent. There's nothing wrong with our scouting. I think that's what it goes down to though. People, we talk about scouting, but Gahey, Anderson, Richards, Decore, Olise.
Exactly. And so I'm not saying all I'm saying is it's not. I'm just saying for us to have that summer, it's not out of reach for us to do that.
Yeah, that's
we just have to rely on our scouting ability.
100%. And I say this, and when people come on there and panic and saying, "Oh, we're doomed, we're going down," and some people might have their reasons for thinking that. I'm not the one to say why do you think you're going down because we haven't been performing great. But I'm saying our problems are not that big that we can't come back from it. All we need is solid investment, which we didn't do this season. We didn't do solid investment in terms of bringing in enough players. But we need to do that in the summer. And once we do that, and once we bring in quality players, then, yes, if it doesn't work out, then we'll be worried. But this season, I know people are saying Vieira out, but look at our squad today. Like, cool, let's just take a step back and just look at the names.
Who would you play?
Mateta starting up front. Are you starting on the right? Jeffrey Schlupp starting on the left. I mean...
No, I started at the 10 today. Believe it or not, Big 10.
Yeah, but he was as our forward line. It was Olise, Mateta, and Schlupp. Like, what do you genuinely expect from their names?
Right.
There's only so much you can do. Like there is, and that goes down to not only Vieira. Now you can say he should have started Eze. Then again, I don't think Eze should have started in this game because he doesn't warrant based on.
He would have done the work rate.
If they were wanting to do what Patrick said with pressuring the double pivot.
Never worked today.
IU was the guy that you needed
because it worked.
to do that.
Because it worked today. 100%.
Yeah.
I want to add one more thing, by the way, as far as our investment. I'm telling you right now, and I think Pascal might agree with me. We've got to use our youth system better. Also, we've historically had a good youth system. We're bringing one player around every 3 years. It's got to be 2 players every. Evan Ferguson today is 18 years old for Brighton. He's got like 4 or 5 goals. We have to use next year Killian Phillips, David Ozo, Ty Admirola. They have to give them a chance. John Kamani Gordon. Give them a chance. Put them on the bench and let them get experience because they can, and Eboue, let them play because they can improve other teams are doing it. And then we can spend less money but play some of the kids because to me, they can do it. Maybe not this season, but next season. I've got to see 4 or 5 players by youth team who have to be in that squad. They have to.
100% agree. But you know what I think it is? Put yourself in Vieira's position. You got still the likes of Luca, Gyro, and all these other pros there. Realistically, you're not going to drop him for Ozo.
No, I understand.
Patrick's saying next year. For the summer.
But then this all goes down to next year. And that's our big thing. And that's why right here, you might be saying, why aren't you furious that happened against Brighton? That's the best they are. That is the best that Brighton have been. They're even better than Potter. And they still couldn't beat even our B side. You can argue our C side. Like they couldn't beat us with Richards. We didn't have Richards. We didn't have Anderson. We didn't have Will. Yes, we didn't play great, but we had some average players out on the pitch there, and we still managed to get a point. If I'm a Brighton fan, I'm more frustrated than if I'm a Palace fan because I know
absolutely.
If Zaha was playing, if Richards playing, if Anderson was playing, and if Lukonga maybe had a few games in his hands, and Hamada was clicking, and then we played like that. Fair enough, but this was literally our last resort. We didn't have many options apart from James Tompkins. He still came in and done the job. Whereas Brighton, they were flying. They're flying.
They're beating teams
left, right, centre, and they still couldn't beat our weaker side. And that's what I'm happy about because they can hold that. I know they are frustrated. I spoke to Brighton fans. They are frustrated, and they're trying to say it's all on Sanchez. But I'm happy. Be frustrated because we picked up a point. And we'll face you again with Zaha and Anderson in a month's time. But we picked up a point against one of the most informed teams, and they still haven't beaten us in 6 years.
Brighton fans probably feel the way that we did when Mark Gahey gave up the goal. Like they probably feel the exact same way because we played a better game than them that day, and we ended up giving up that goal for them to get the tie. They probably feel the exact same way. And I mean, if you think about it, man, like I was saying earlier with Patrick, man, we've gotten points off of some of the most informed teams in the last month. We've gotten points off of some of the most informed teams.
And now Brighton,
yeah. Before you go, Palace Plummer, great name by the way. Probably the best we've had so far on the show since we started the match reaction. Looking ahead to the next game against Brentford, it's not going to be another easy tie. I don't want people to look at Brentford and say, by name, you might think, they're easily beatable, but they are playing really good and they managed to pick up a point against Arsenal. How do you see that? How do you see that game and what's your expectations for it based on how we performed today? Do you expect just a better performance as you just get a point against them or get 3 points? How do you feel about the game?
I mean, yeah, a point would be nice, you know what I mean? But I think we still, I mean, Brentford are a good team. We know that they've moved on a lot more than us, the same as Brighton. But I think it's this stage of the season. If we keep playing for draws, I think we've got to start winning some games. I'd go there for the win. I would, honestly would. I'd go there and try and get the 3 points. I would.
Yeah, we can't be as negative as we were today. I'll say that, and it's one of them games when you look at our most recent results and the teams that we face some very difficult opponents. Don't get me wrong, Brentford are another difficult opponent, but it's one of them games where you're not facing Brighton. It's fine if you do lose. Of course, no one wants to do, but it's fine if it's not the end of the world if you lose against Brentford. So we have to kind of go for it. We can't approach the game as we did today, especially if the likes of Anderson's back and maybe Richards is back, and we'll see with Wilf as well. If he's fit as well, but I assume Wilf will be back relatively soon. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, one more thing. I'm definitely ain't on the camp of Patrick out. By the way, definitely not 100%. I'm a believer in giving managers a chance, not giving them 3 months and then get them out the door. I mean, look at Arteta. He was nearly gone But and look at him now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to give managers a chance to settle in, get their players in, start playing the way he wants to play. So that's where I am.
100%. I'm behind you as well. But everyone has their own opinions, and we all respect it for their sake. Some people will be Vieira out, and they have their reasons. But it is what it is. But look, thanks for calling into the show. Really appreciate
No problems, boys.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it, man.
Cheers, man.
Take care, all right?
Just wondering.
Okay. Should we bring on Alex? He's been waiting for a while now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's been waiting for like 20 minutes or so. Alex, very sorry about the
Hey.
wait.
Hey,
Sorry about that. Thank you for coming back on the show.
Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to show that this is how you catch the ball, Robert Sanchez.
Nah, that's all right. You don't need to learn that. You don't need to learn that.
What
That's
was
all right.
that?
That's all right. We'll take it.
Oh man, that
It
was
makes it
wonderful.
even sweeter. That's from their mistake. That is from
Hall
their
of
mistake.
Fame
that Rashford got
performance.
played.
Yeah.
What did he make of the game? Hey, look, as a person watching, of course, it was a bit frustrating at moments because we were just sitting back. They were controlling the play. Of course, we missed some key plays today. Some people were saying the lineup was wrong. Some people were saying our approach was wrong. For you, what did it make of the result against Brighton at home? Was it a good point to pick up?
Definitely a good point. Although I will say that now that you mention it, Edward, what the heck? This is the one time that you can give a chance to another person to have another Edward moment. First 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes at Selhurst Park, give him a goal. Just pass him the ball.
Lay it off
That
the
was
right
literally
way.
what you did last year was you got that goal last year. And it was sad. I wanted Hamada. Is it Hamada or Ahamada?
Yeah, Hamada.
Okay. I wanted him to get that goal because he was just wonderful on that play. Made Estepinian look, for one of the only times, not look like one of the best players on the pitch. So I thought it was a frustrating point because most of the time I did not enjoy it. Once we got one goal down, it felt pretty hopeless. You know what I mean? It started feeling dark before the mess up. So yeah, I'll take it.
What do you think it was then that was frustrating today? What didn't you like?
So I don't know if anyone mentioned this, but I think a lot of the way we played today was because the last time Tonk was playing in the back versus Fulham. Sorry, I can't pronounce things. Fulham. I'm from America. I'm sorry. I can't pronounce things.
He still did a good enough job. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, Tonk is that Fulham game, he could not pass from the back. And so Gaeta just has to hoof it each time, and he's hoofing it to somebody who cannot catch it now. I don't know what happened. I thought Mateta last year had a little bit of hold-up play, and I don't know what's happened. But that was a lot of where we struggled, I felt like, was we couldn't hold on to the ball.
Yeah, and I think this is the problem with Mateta. It's like, what can he do? That's Edward. By the way, before people say why picking on Mateta, Edward is not great either. But
No.
For Mateta, if you're tall, if you're that tall physical striker, and you can't hold up the play,
yeah,
I genuinely don't.
The announcer was roasting him. That was like, did they do that to other players? That just doesn't seem right. It's like it's now becoming his thing. It's not fair to Mateta. Like he's not good. We get it.
But that's the problem, though. And this is why we have these type of performances, because the players are not good enough. Some of these players.
Yeah.
And that's why it goes back to the Vieira stance. Yes, it's frustrating how we played, etc. But I mean, the alternative was Edward. Edward comes on. What was he? Was he brilliant? No, he wasn't brilliant. And another alternative, maybe play Eze. Eze comes on.
He was still my favorite.
Either.
Yeah.
And I think that's our problem. These players are just not stepping up to the plate. Some of these players are simply not good enough, and some of these players are just bad on form. And there's only so much you can do as a manager when you just have players that are not meeting expectations. I mean, what type of result do you expect from players that are not performing well? And I think that goes down to it. Today, look, I thought like 10 minutes before kickoff, I was thinking about it. I thought he played Mateta because you had Tompkins there, and we wouldn't play out from the back as much. because
Right.
he's not as great on the ball. So Mateta will be that physical striker. The problem is you boot the ball up there, and the guy can't jump. It doesn't help. Like, it still doesn't help.
Yeah.
He's up there to be that physical striker to win and bring down the ball, but he still can't win and bring down the ball. So now you got a dilemma. You're playing Mateta because you want to be that physical tall striker that causes defenders problems, but he causes us problems more than defenders. And then you can't really play out from the back because you got Tompkins there. So it's like, what can you do if Tompkins doesn't play? Who plays at centre half? We don't have another ball playing defender. Anderson and Rich is out. So we just didn't have much to play with.
That makes it
game.
all the more clear that you got the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just the fact that I even had that millisecond where I was like, wait, is this Brighton 2021 all over again, where like we had nothing, and then Benteke with the volley, like that type of ending was what I was hoping for, and we almost got it. I felt like,
Yeah, look, they didn't beat us. With this team that we had. So yeah, we do. I think we just say the point. I mean, this was a game where forget about performance. Of course, matters because you're facing Brighton. You want to perform well against Brighton, but realistically, with the team that we got out there, with the players that we got missing, the result was the most important thing. I think most of us came on here saying that we want a point against Brighton, not that we want to perform well against Brighton. And we managed to get a point. We managed to get a point, and then we face them again. We run out again in about a month's time. So it's not like there's a long wait. And hopefully by then we'll have our players back and we have better performances. But for you, Alex, in terms of players that did perform well today, I thought Vicente had a decent game. And if it wasn't for him, that we could have considered a few goals. So there was still a bit of positives here and there. What did you make of some positive performances today? Who stood out for you?
It's funny enough because they weren't getting the ball in the middle, but I thought Decore and Hughes were both very good in the middle. Especially Hughes was sussing out some things in the first half. He was one of the only ones to kind of tell when things were happening, and I've kind of not been the biggest Hughes fan, so I thought he played much better today, and I was sad to see him go off. And Lakanga looked good too once he got on, but I was surprised that the midfield defensively looked good. They were just completely circumvented, so they couldn't really hold on to the ball. So it's not their fault. And I thought that IU pressing and Mateta was a good idea, and it occasionally worked, and it got Mateta those 2 shots today just from us giving it a shot. Like, I feel like we haven't always tried to do that. So I like that we tried.
Yeah. I think it goes down to the trying. Like we tried. The performance, you can question the effort as well. I don't know if the effort was good enough. I think it was more tactically rather than the players not pressing. Because there was times where Brighton had the ball basically at the halfway line and we're still not pressing. Like
we didn't even try.
Yeah. Was watching. So you can say maybe it's effort. You can say it's tactics. But look, we managed to survive. We managed to get a point. And Sanchez, he dropped it. He So I'll take it from there.
So that streak's over, I would say. The goalies having great games against us is over. Finally. Yeah.
Looking at to the Brentford game, if one of the players is back out of Wilf, Anderson, Richards, of course I think they go back into starting lineup. Many people won't question that, but are you hopeful that we can be a bit more positive and try to get a result, 3 points against Brentford, even though it won't be easy if one of those players are back?
One of the things I was thinking was it's finally nice to play a team that passing isn't their strength. Finally, like we've just had game after game after game. Like Bournemouth was the last game that was against a team that was like bottom 10 in passing, and we finally, like Brentford, yes, their strength is counter attacking and stuff like that, but at least we have like another angle to play them other than let's just get passed on over and over and just hope we can get scraps. Like if we don't get a lot of possession next week, I think we need to worry a little bit more. If we can't get possession against Brentford, I worry that we're not going to get anything out of it, but it's not because we won't be in the game. I think it's because Brentford's really opportunistic and just they do like the little things really well, like the long passes from I don't even know if we have that in our gameplay, like the long pass that's almost like a corner. They do that all the time. It's frustrating.
Yeah, and I think if Anderson's back, the playing out from the back will be massive for us against Brentford. Especially
hope
if you
so.
can bring out passes to like the likes of, hopefully Wilf is back as well. But yeah, look, Alex, thank you for coming on to the show. Really appreciate talking to you as always.
Thanks,
and
guys.
hopefully we catch you up again soon.
Yep.
Right on,
Take it
Alex.
easy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was Alex. So what do you guys think about the game? I know I joined a bit late. What do you guys actually think about the game?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, man. And Patrick made a great point. It's like, if you're the manager of Crystal Palace and you have the injuries that we did coming into this match, how drastically could you have done things differently and pulled out the same result? You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily have an issue with. I was a little bit surprised to see the way we lined up at first, but I mean, I got it. Once I started to watch the way that we were playing, I got it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think about the lineup. It was at first I was like, "What is this?" When I saw it, my initial reaction was, "What on earth is going on with this lineup?"
Right.
But then when I actually soaked it in and looked at the lineup and looked at the options, I wasn't that frustrated. Tompkins is playing because Richards and Anderson is out. So if you're not, if you don't want Tompkins to play, who do you play at centre back? And then you had what else was there? So of course there's no problems with the other back line. The Corey was playing, that was fine. And then you had Hughes still playing. Maybe Lokonga could have started. You did, but then again, it's not really realistic, is it? I mean, he could potentially start, but it's not like a massive big thing that Hughes is starting over Lokonga. And then you had the likes of IU playing, which I wasn't upset with because we talked about in the preview. We probably need IU to play to try and help support defensively because Brighton is going to be hectic through the middle and out wide. So I wasn't upset with that. Schlupp had to play because Wilf is out. And then Mateta's playing because Edouard didn't have a great game against Man United. But then again, I had no expectation for Mateta anyway. So when you look at the lineup and the options that we had on the bench, yes, Ebbs could have started, but we can't let Ebbs start because he's been that guy in the past. Like, I understand it. He has a talent, but he's out of form. He's not playing good enough. And we said it here in the past as well, in the Roy Hodgson era, starting plays that the manager likes continuously, regardless of form. And Vieira ain't doing that. Vieira could always start Ebbs because he can be that creative spark, but he ain't doing that because he's out of form. So I wasn't even too upset that Ebbs didn't start. I thought the lineup made sense, but
I mean, but if you're talking attacking players, who is in form?
Forget about in form.
No, but I'm saying you're saying that he's not playing Eze because he's not in form. Who technically can we say of those players are in form?
Maybe Olise, that would be about it.
Bad game against Man United.
Maybe.
Schlupp didn't have a bad game against Man United. I didn't have a bad game against Man United and in this game as well. So if you're talking about players that's performed better than Ebbs, then players, even though the production is not as great, saying that, I don't know what Ebbs' production been lately, but even though his production ain't as great, Schlupp has still had a decent game against United. You did as well. And then you can have the debate, Olise or Eze. Now,
I think
Eze
tactically was a better reason for not starting.
Realistically, over Olise. But then again, can you be mad at Vieira for him playing Olise over Eze? Because Eze has been poor. I don't know about you guys, but I think he's been really poor. Like, he's been really poor. So I'm not really that mad that Olise is starting over Ebbs. Like, it's not. As I'm saying, there wasn't one selection out there that I thought, damn, he's got that completely wrong. Like, what on earth are you doing? Like, we have 3 key players out. Arguably one of our best players this season. Anderson, best defender so far this season. And then Wilf, our best attacker, out of this game. So it's like, what can you realistically do with the players that you got out there? And as much as we at times we get onto Schlupp and IU, they're coming off decent games against Man United. So yeah,
I think the biggest issue that we see with our squad a lot of times, number one, is just consistency of play. I mean,
yeah, but I think going forward, I'm expecting a change in our team. I am, when everyone's fit. I'm expecting a change in formation as well. I'm expecting Lokonga to be a starter there, and we go back to high pressing because I don't like this Palace. This Palace, it doesn't suit us. We're just sitting back. I know we've had to do it, be more sort of defensively because of the fact that we're losing games left, right, centre, and we just had to pick up points. But under Vieira, what he was known for in the first season is high pressing. And we haven't seen that this season because we haven't had the players. But now that we got Hamada there and Lokonga there, I want to try to go back to the 4-3-3. I want to go back to high pressing as well. but that will come in due time. But I don't want to end the season like sitting back and playing on the counter attack, because I don't think that's us. I'd like us to try and go back to our usual ways in terms of the ways that Vieira actually wants to play. Because right now, Vieira has adapted. I don't think he wants to play like this. He has adapted to the squad, but I think it is what it is. You know, we got a point against a very good side on paper, and yes, we did get lucky, but we'll take it. I think many people would have took the point beforehand, and it was without our key players as well. And people like Wilf and Anderson would make a huge difference, even though Tompkins had a good game, just from playing out from the back. But those interesting comments. We'll wrap it up anyways in just a second. But there was a comment here. What was the comment? It was the fact that I think this pretty much sums up our problems. Is that someone said that Mateta, what was it? That Mateta basically, at least he can shoot. Like, when we talk about strikers and we're comparing Edouard and Mateta, we're basically talking about one that can shoot. That's how you know the quality is just not there. Not even goals.
Or is willing to willing to shoot is what I would say
Our
more.
striker, one of the strikers is playing because he's willing to shoot.
Yeah.
What do you expect when we're judging our both forwards and saying one forward is better than the other because one is willing to shoot? Like that's the lowest of levels you can be.
Yeah, but I mean, what does it say? What does it say to be a forward who isn't willing to shoot? You know what I'm saying? What does it mean to be a forward who isn't willing to shoot?
As well. I'm not getting onto Mbali, but I'm just saying it's an interesting point. Like, we're talking about our strikers. At least Mateta can shoot. Not even score, he can shoot. Do you know how low standards that is for our forwards? That we're judging one based on the shots that they're taking. And they're not even decent shots. Like, he's shooting, but where's he shooting towards? That's the thing. Like, it pretty much sums up where we are.
That's not fair today. Seriously, he had 2 shots today that could have been goals, but Webster made 2 blocks on. Watch it again, man. You're not being fair today.
Those could have been shots on. Those could have been really good shots on target.
Both those shots were going into the goal, except Webster blocked them. So it's not fair to kill the guy today. His hold-up play is not good, but he did get 2 shots up that he could have scored today. It's not fair to kill the guy today. No, his hold-up play was not good today. He's not a hold-up. He can't win balls, but he took shots.
Part of his game is absolutely awful. It was not a good performance. It was not a good performance for a striker that he didn't score goals, and his other game was awful.
Again, as we mentioned before, if you listen at the beginning of the show, he and Ayew were pressing both of the central midfielders, which was a big part of why Brighton had to play wide. So he did a good job what he was told to do by the manager, which was to press Dunk, press Webster, press Gross, and press Caicedo. So they had to play the ball wide. If you saw the game, I know you were there. That's what he did today. That was his job to do today. So to kill him for his other play, he wasn't perfect. He wasn't great today, but he did a job today, as did Ayew. And that has to be, you got to give him
that is the bare minimum, though, Patrick.
It's not the bare minimum. No, I'm going to disagree with you. No, because again, today we were set up with a very, you called it our C team, and his job today was not to do what he's supposed to. Was basically to stop Brighton from playing, which he was a big part of doing, because Brighton is a much better team than us. Last year you went about them not being able to beat us. They're a better team than us, better squad. Right now, better manager. He had a job to do today, and he did it. So,
but when you normally talk about a striker, you talk about what they do.
I'm not talking about normally. I'm talking about today's game. I'm just about today's game. Just about today's game. I'm talking about just today's game in isolation. I'm talking about the guy as a whole. In isolation today, he did a job that he had to do that Edouard could not have done today. Edouard could not have pressed that way and worked. He couldn't have done it today. He couldn't have, which is why he didn't start today. So that's my point.
I mean, if we're looking at Mateta like that, then fair enough. But for me, he's hold-up play. Going forward, he's hold-up play. And
I've said that before. We've had that discussion. But we continue to kill him on things that he can't do well. I get that. But then we don't give him credit for things that he does do well. That's not fair to me. That's my only point.
Right, he was decent out of possession. I mean, you can find positives in everyone.
And that was the big deal, because if you look at the passing stats, we had like 100-some passes. They had 600 passes today. We hardly had the ball. They had 75% of the ball, so you had to work hard out of possession. That's why Ayew was key today. That's why.
Yeah, 600 passes. Then the press wasn't even that effective because they were still passing around us.
Yeah, they were good passing side, though.
Well, you give Mateta credit for the pressing, but what did the pressing lead to? Because they were still completing passes. I mean,
it had them not scoring more than 1 goal today. That helped. Because, again, if you watch Brighton play, they like to go down the middle of the field more than going out wide. That's how they play. Today, they were forced to go out wide. Now, I did create a chance that when Estupiñán scored that goal that was ruled offside. But honestly, besides that, most of the chances they didn't get many chances in the middle of the field. They didn't. Most of the chances had to go wide. They're going to solid march a lot of the time. So the point being is that
the goal they scored was from out wide.
I
mean, technically, the goal they scored was from out wide. So.
They would have killed us if we gave McAllister more chances. By the way, how
I know, but I just feel like cool. You can give credit to a certain extent, but I don't think Mateta had that good of a game off the ball.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that all we like to do is kill the guy, and I get that part. But if a guy does a job in a match, just give him credit. Same way you would give IU credit if he does a good job. Tompkins today, Guaita, whomever, Grahy. Why do we just have to keep killing the guy? To me, it's boring. I get what he can't do. We all get that part.
He's simply not good enough.
We get that part. We get that part. He's not good enough. I get that. But he does other strikers. So the point is, let's give our manager a better squad next season and then judge him then. No?
Yeah, that's what I've literally been saying all the time. But for Mateta, we'll talk about the player ratings, but I mean, off the ball stuff. He put in an effort there, but that's just like the bare minimum. I'm not.
We didn't have the ball today. He had to do off the ball stuff. We had the ball 25% of the game today. It was bad. It was bad to watch.
Yeah, I know.
It was bad to
be there,
and
part of that reason was him. Let's not forget that as well, because the balls were going up to him and he couldn't win headers and bring the ball down. Like
I agree. I said that part. He's not holding.
So he puts in them
great.
situations in the first place. So how many
times? If I can give you the stats, D. He lost 2 out of 6 headers. So one of the balls that there 30 times he lost. He lost it like 4 times out of 6.
But based on eye test, his hold up play wasn't good. I don't know about the stats.
Again. You're missing my point. I've made that point. His hold-up play is poor. He cannot win headers. But the things that he does do well, which they were fine, help us get that point. That's all I'm asking you to acknowledge. I'm not talking about hold-up play. You're absolutely right. It was terrible because he's never been good. He can't head the ball that well. But he can press. He can make teams do what they don't want to do well, and it helped us get a point today. Because if not today, I'm telling you right now, today could have been another Spurs game. Easily, 4-5-0. Easily today. If we didn't do that part.
I know, honestly, I'm just waiting for the summer to move on.
Oh man, I'm way ahead of you. I'm way ahead of you.
I'm tired of.
I'm way ahead of you.
Because he's not. He's just
warmer weather and better transfers.
One player,
all right.
And I would have. And honestly, today
I feel you.
I know you guys said it on the show, but I was thinking that whilst watching the game, I'd rather have Benteke there than Mateta.
Oh,
I would have rather have Benteke there than Mateta.
I agree with that.
Hey man, don't say that because all these Benteke enthusiasts gonna come out the woodworks talking about we made a mistake and all.
No, I agree.
Well, you can make an argument. We probably made a mistake. We kept Mateta and we let go Benteke. At least Benteke had something about his game. Today, I was thinking about if these balls are going to Benteke as they're pressing us, I think he brings it down. I think he causes them problems. Benteke still had that in his game. He had something in his game. Cool, his position in front of goal might not be great and he might not have that many shots, but then he could still bring the ball down. Like for me, and he wasn't that bad off the ball as well, but yeah. So it is what it is, anyways. We managed to get a point against them. But anything else that you guys want to add before we wrap it up? I mean, it's just a point.
One thing I want to say is that I think there's a lot of pressure on our more talented players to play well, because of the fact that we're out there with an unbalanced squad.
Excellent point.
And that is not easy. When you have these teams out here that are doing really well, that are playing really well, a la the Brightons, the Brentfords of the world, I hate even Fulham. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they have consistent quality across their team. Yeah. And that allows players to be more comfortable just playing them the way that they play and doing well. I think one of the issues that our team has right now is the fact that we don't have consistent quality across the board, and that leaves guys like Olise and Ebbs and Zaha. All of them have to added pressure to play better every single match. And I just feel like when we see a truly balanced squad is when we'll start to see better product from all of these players that are our most talented, that we expect the most from overall.
Excellent point. Exactly. And when it comes to it, like today, why was I not upset that Jordan Ayew started? Because we have weaknesses in the back. But then when we take away them weaknesses and we have a good enough 11 and we have good enough, let's say, a modern right back, then there is no excuse to go with the player that's better defense, because there's no excuse to play Jordan Ayew. But right now we don't, and I think that's been the case for our season. Why are we so inconsistent? Literally because of that. Because we'll have a few games where some of these players will step up and then it'll work out, and then they'll go back to the level that they're at. I'm telling you now, there could be other managers at Palace right now, and we could be doing a much worse job.
Facts.
That's the scary thing about it, because I genuinely feel like our squad, as good as there are some good players, some very good players. There's some very average players as well that bring down them other players, and that could go horribly wrong.
And on the other side of that, I don't think there are many managers that we can have that would have us doing better than we are.
Exactly.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, maybe Daesh, he does good with squads that don't have that much. But then again, it's taking one step back. We're trying to change our whole philosophy as a football club.
Right.
Go high pressing, be more than football club. With, what we done last season, basically.
Daesh might be getting the same exact results, just in a different fashion.
Yeah, look, this season, Vieira hasn't been great. We can say that. There's been, even at the start of the season, we'll talk about squad selection. Why did it take so long for Hughes to come into the starting lineup? Like, there's been some situations where you can argue that maybe Vieira should have done a few things differently. I'm not saying that. But if you look at the squad as a whole, if you look at our problems lie more on the owners than Patrick Vieira, because first and foremost, the squad itself is not good enough. I don't think it's good enough. And that's why we're in the position we're in right now. That's why we're 12th. Yep. And that's why we'll probably remain there until the end of the season. Maybe push up to 11th or drop down to 13th. But yeah. But look, we've got massive game coming up against Brentford. But before then, there'll be more post-game content. Me and Patrick will be doing the player ratings. I'll be interested to hear. I haven't seen your ratings yet, Patrick. I'll be interested to see your rating for Mateta.
Mateta 10. Olise 1. There's your little preview if you want to preview.
All right. And that's a spoiler alert there. But based on that, it should be an exciting show. So make sure to check that out after this show. So that'll be posted later on. But if you have enjoyed it, smash the like button. It only takes a few seconds of your time. And subscribe to Novice on future Palace content. We'll be looking at the latest Palace news, building up to the Brentford game and more. So that's it from me, T, and Patrick. Thanks to everyone who joined us live. And until next time, up the Palace.
Up the Palace.